Hi, I'm Rachel. My family called me a failure and left me off the guest list for our family reunion. Said I was just chasing dreams that would never pay off. They never knew about the company I built. The nights I stayed up coding while they called my brother the real success. They didn't want me there, but I showed up anyway. And when the Forbes editor walked in, took the mic and said, "We're looking for Rachel Chen, this year's 30 under 30 cover story," my whole family froze. What would you do if your family erased you until the moment they couldn't anymore? Let me know where you're listening from. I promise you'll want to hear how this ends. They say fall in Connecticut carries a bite in the air, but that morning it felt like it was biting me personally as I turned off I-95, rolling past the manicured lawns of Greenwich. The clouds hung low, that soft gray that makes you think of coffee and waiting. And I guess that's exactly what I was doing, waiting for a message from home, a sign I was wanted. I parked near the old diner we used to stop at after church when we were kids, the same place Mom would get Daniel an extra-large milkshake for his straight A's, while I got half of hers, if there was any left. The sign still flickered. The coffee still smelled burnt. And I checked my phone, expecting anything from the family group chat. Maybe a see you at the reunion, Rach. Or a simple thumbs up. Nothing. I scrolled up, rereading the last few messages Dad sent about Daniel's big promotion to partner at Goldman Sachs. How proud we are. How this is his moment. It was all about him. But I thought there might still be room for me. That's when I saw it. A screenshot, clearly meant for someone else, accidentally dropped in the family group chat. Sitting there, like a live wire. Better she doesn't show up. It's Daniel's celebration. It was from Mom. No emojis, no soft landing. Just that. My hands clenched around the phone so hard, I heard a faint crack. I set it down on the seat beside me, staring through the windshield as a family walked into the diner laughing. I wasn't invisible, but it was close enough. I started the engine again, pulling away slowly, the road ahead blurry for a second, before I blinked it clear. I drove past the street we grew up on, houses lined with perfect hedges. Daniel's high school still standing, with that bronze plaque announcing his valedictorian status. I remembered that day. Neighbors dropping off congratulations cards, Dad grilling in the backyard, everyone telling me how lucky I was to have such a brother. That evening, I washed the dishes alone while they toasted him under the string lights. I told myself I wasn't going to let it get to me again. But then, I found myself calling the country club, pressing the phone to my ear, hoping to hear my name. "Rachel Chen," I said, slowly spelling it out. "I'm checking the guest list for the Chen family reunion." A pause, then a voice. Polite, crisp, distant. "I'm sorry, ma'am. There's no Rachel Chen on the list. Not a mistake, not an oversight. Deliberate. Erased." I pulled over into a grocery store parking lot, letting the silence fill the car. The hum of engines around me, people pushing carts, kids whining about candy, and me sitting there feeling like I didn't exist. Mom's voice came back to me, one she used often enough, dripping with that half laugh. She's still playing with computers, thinking she'll be the next tech genius. I ran a tech company that just closed a Series B funding round. But to her, I was just playing with computers. Dad didn't say anything. He never did. He just turned up the TV eyes, fixed on Daniel's latest feature in the Financial Times about young leaders in investment banking. They loved him for the suit, for the stories he told, the bonuses he flaunted. They didn't care about the algorithms I'd developed that were revolutionizing supply chain management, or the team of 50 I'd built from nothing. I was quiet about it. I thought that made me humble. I thought they'd see it eventually. I drove to the street in front of the family home, slowing as I pulled up to the curb. The lights were on, shadows moving across the blinds, laughter drifting out as the door opened, and Daniel stepped out to grab something from his Tesla. His suit was laid across the back seat, a fresh pressed symbol of the family's pride. I saw Mom in the kitchen, her head thrown back in a laugh, a tray of her famous spring rolls in her hand. I cut the engine, resting my hands on the steering wheel. The cold from the window seeped into my arm, but I didn't mind. I thought about getting out, walking up, knocking on the door, pretending I hadn't seen that message, hadn't heard those words, just slipping in, acting like family. But I didn't. I stayed there long enough to see Daniel re-enter, to see Dad pat him on the back, to see them sit down together. Then I started the car again, pulling away slowly. At the stoplight, I noticed a napkin on the passenger seat, folded into the shape of a crane. I picked it up, running my thumb over the crease. The barista at the coffee shop earlier had done it a simple gesture. I remembered how Mom would fold napkins like that for Daniel's birthday dinners, making everything look special. She never did it for me. I held the napkin in my hand, feeling its delicate edges, the small act of care from a stranger that meant more than anything I'd gotten from my family. I set it back down, glancing at myself in the rearview mirror. My hair was pulled back, my blazer hanging in the back seat, waiting. They didn't want me there. It didn't matter. They weren't going to stop me. I took a breath, steady, slow, letting it fill the silence that always felt too loud around them. My reflection in the mirror wasn't smiling, but it wasn't defeated either. "You're not invisible, even if they can't see you," I whispered. I took a deep breath and pulled the zipper up on my jacket. The soft click, somehow louder, in the quiet of the car. The napkin, folded like a crane, was still on the seat beside me, its edges precise, reminding me why I came here, even when my family couldn't. I tucked it into the side pocket of my bag, started the engine, and let the car ease forward. The morning air felt crisp as I turned onto the road toward the country club, joining the slow crawl of vehicles, most of them filled with families dressed for the occasion. Kids in pressed shirts tugged at their collars, while parents fixed hair and adjusted tiny bow ties. The sort of small tenderness that made my chest tighten in a way I didn't have time to analyze. I parked 2 blocks away to avoid the valet line, stepping out and feeling the breeze move through my hair. I adjusted the blazer. I had chosen charcoal gray, understated, but impeccable. No logos, no flash. I wanted to walk in quietly. No announcement, no fanfare. I just needed to see. Walking toward the entrance, I fell in step behind a family, laughing about a golf story. The father in his Brooks Brothers suit, the mother adjusting her pearls. I kept my head level, but when I looked up, I saw the banner stretched across the entrance, Chen Family Reunion, celebrating excellence. My family name in elegant script photos of various family members in a collage. Daniel's professional headshot prominently displayed. Mine, absent. I paused for a moment, letting it sink in, letting the familiar ache settle before moving forward again. Near the side entrance, I found a spot where I could observe without standing out. My back straight, my hands tucked into my pockets. The crowd buzzed, with conversation voices rising and falling as people greeted each other. And then I saw them. My family stepping out of Dad's Mercedes. Mom adjusting her silk scarf. Dad smoothing his jacket. Daniel in a perfectly tailored suit, looking every inch the investment banking success story. His fiancée, Victoria, held onto his arm, laughing at something her diamond catching the morning light. They moved as a unit, waving to cousins, shaking hands, posing for photos. I watched them for a long moment, letting the scene burn into memory. Because this was how they wanted it, clean, bright, all about Daniel the golden child. Someone near me laughed, and I turned my head just in time to hear Daniel say to Victoria, "At least Rachel's not here to bore everyone with her startup sob stories." His voice was loud enough to carry, and people around him chuckled, throwing casual glances around. Unaware, I was standing right there, hearing every word. The words dug in sharp and deep, but I didn't flinch. I kept my eyes steady, breathing out slowly, as if I could let the sting leave with the breath. They didn't know, and they didn't care to know. That's what hurt the most. I slipped a hand into my pocket, feeling the edge of my phone, remembering the late nights in my apartment building. Something from nothing. The term sheets, the investor meetings, the moments when everything almost fell apart, but didn't. The headline I'd seen just yesterday, but hadn't told anyone about yet. The crowd shifted, and I saw Mom reach up to adjust Daniel's tie. Her smile soft, the kind she saved for him. Dad clapped him on the back, laughter bubbling up, as Daniel said something that made Victoria giggle and swat his arm playfully. They moved closer, passing by me, so close, I caught the scent of Mom's perfume, heard Dad's familiar chuckle, the soft click of Daniel's Italian leather shoes on the pavement. None of them looked at me. They didn't see me. They didn't even glance. I let them pass the space they left behind, feeling heavy. I took a single step back, finding a pillar to lean against, pressing my hand lightly against the cold marble to steady myself. My chin lifted back straight. I was here. They didn't get to take that away. Across the way, Victoria turned for a moment, her eyes catching mine. She paused, recognition flickering, before her lips curved into a smirk. She turned back to Daniel and said something that made him laugh, his eyes sparkling under the bright morning sun. I held her gaze for a heartbeat before she looked away, pretending I wasn't there. They took selfies. Daniel in the middle, his arms around Mom and Victoria. Dad leaning in with that practiced smile. The laughter felt louder from where I stood, like it was designed to push me further away, to remind me I was nothing but air to them, a shadow they stepped around. I let my eyes drift to the ground, where a young girl standing with her parents dropped a napkin folded carefully into the shape of a crane. It fluttered down, landing softly near my foot. I bent down, picked it up, and handed it back to her with a small smile. She beamed and ran back to her mother. A small reminder that kindness could exist in small gestures, even if it wasn't meant for me. "They will not define my worth," I whispered to myself. I looked back at the gathering, watching Daniel pose, with cousins shaking hands, with Dad's golf buddies, looking like the success story they all wanted. I let the anger settle into something else, something colder, something stronger. "Not today," I whispered the words for me alone. I stepped closer to the entrance, just enough for them to see me, if they dared to look. But they didn't. And after a moment, I turned toward the side door, letting the crisp Connecticut air clear the heaviness from my chest. I walked through the side entrance, the cool air of the country club wrapping around me like expensive cologne and old money. The marble floors gleamed, reflecting the chandeliers overhead, and the hum of conversation floated from the main ballroom like a tide I wasn't quite ready to face. I paused near a mirror in the hallway, checking my reflection. Professional, but not trying too hard. Hair pulled back in a low bun, minimal jewelry. The blazer that had seen me through countless investor meetings. I looked like myself, not the version they wanted, but the one I'd become without their approval. The ballroom doors were propped open, revealing round tables, dressed in white linens, centerpieces of white orchids, and the soft clink of champagne flutes. I stepped inside, keeping to the edges, letting my presence adjust to the room before the room adjusted to me. Families clustered near the bar, cousins I hadn't seen in years, comparing vacation photos on their phones. Uncle Robert held court near the window, telling the same story about his golf handicap that he'd been telling since I was 12. Aunt Linda's laugh, too bright, too forced, carried across the space. And there at the center table, the one with the best view, the one that had always been understood as the immediate family table, sat my parents, Daniel and Victoria. An empty chair where I should have been had been removed entirely. The table set for 4 instead of 5. I found a spot near the back wall, hands clasped in front of me, watching as waitstaff circulated with trays of Mom's recipe spring rolls, the ones she taught me to make when I was 7, before she decided Daniel's achievements were more worthy of her time. Conversations drifted past me, in fragments. Daniel's killing it at Goldman, youngest partner track in his division. His parents must be so proud. Whatever happened to their daughter? The quiet one. I kept my expression neutral, even as Cousin Mei Lin walked past, did a double take, then quickly looked away as if she'd seen a ghost. Or worse, a failure. The microphone squealed to life, and Uncle Robert stepped up to the podium, tapping it twice, before launching into his welcome speech. Something about family legacy, about success, about the Chen name, meaning something in this community. His eyes swept the room, landing on Daniel with obvious pride. "We're here to celebrate not just our family, but excellence," he boomed. "And speaking of excellence, let's hear it for Daniel Chen, our newest partner at Goldman Sachs." The room erupted in applause. Daniel stood, that practiced humble smile, in place, one hand raised in acknowledgement. Victoria beamed beside him, her hand on his arm, like she was posing for a magazine spread. I clapped too, the sound hollow in my ears, watching as Daniel made his way to the podium. He adjusted the microphone, waiting for the applause to die down before speaking. "Family means everything to me," he began, his voice smooth, rehearsed. "I wouldn't be here without the support of my parents, who sacrificed so much, who taught me the value of hard work and dedication." He went on, thanking Mom, thanking Dad, thanking Victoria for standing by him through the long hours. He thanked Uncle Robert for his mentorship, Aunt Linda for her prayers, even thanked our old neighbor, Mr. Wong, for teaching him to play chess. He never said my name, not once. I stood straighter, forcing the lump in my throat back down, breathing steady as his words washed over me. Each one a reminder of every late night I'd spent debugging code, while he was out celebrating another bonus, every weekend I'd worked, while he golfed with Dad every family dinner I'd missed because I was too busy with that computer stuff. They didn't know about the patents. They didn't know about the contracts with Fortune 500 companies. They didn't know because they'd never asked. As Daniel wrapped up his speech, the crowd applauded again. People stood clapping, whistling. I joined them, the sound sharp in the cavernous space, my face calm, even as something inside me shifted and hardened. The reception continued, servers circulating with dim sum and champagne. Laughter drifted through the air as people caught up, shared photos, compared achievements. I waited, letting the crowd ebb and flow, moving closer to the family table as the initial crush of well-wishers thinned. When I finally approached, Mom saw me first. Her champagne glass paused halfway to her lips, something flickering across her face. Surprise, annoyance, something else I couldn't quite name. "Rachel," she said, her voice sweet, like honey over glass. "I didn't expect to see you here." "I didn't expect to be here either," I replied, keeping my voice level. Daniel turned that easy smile, faltering for just a moment before sliding back into place. "Hey, Rach. Didn't know you were in town." "I'm always in town, Daniel. I live 40 minutes away." An awkward beat. Victoria sipped her champagne, eyes darting between us like she was watching a tennis match. Dad finally looked up from his phone. "How's the computer thing going?" "It's going well," I said simply. Mom's laugh tinkled like broken glass. "That's nice, dear. Though I do worry about you spending all that time alone with screens. When are you going to settle down? Find something stable?" I felt the familiar sting, the dismissal, wrapped in concern. But this time, something was different. This time, I had an answer they weren't ready for. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Once, twice, 3 times in rapid succession. I ignored it, keeping my eyes on my family, on the people who had decided I wasn't worth including, until I stood right in front of them. "Stability is overrated," I said quietly. "Sometimes the biggest risks lead to the biggest rewards." Daniel scoffed. "Easy to say when you're not responsible for real money. My clients trust me with millions." "That's nice," I echoed Mom's tone. "My investors trusted me with 50 million. The table went quiet. Mom's glass tilted champagne, nearly spilling. Daniel's mouth opened, then closed. Dad's phone slipped from his fingers, clattering on the table. What Victoria was the first to speak, her voice sharp. I didn't answer. My phone was buzzing again, insistent now. This time, I pulled it out, glancing at the screen. 4 missed calls, 3 texts, all from the same number, all marked urgent. "Excuse me," I said, stepping back. "I need to take this." I walked away, leaving them sitting there, their silence louder than any words they could have said. I stepped out onto the country club's terrace, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the manicured golf course. The phone in my hand wouldn't stop buzzing. My publicist's name flashed across the screen for the 5th time. "Sarah," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Rachel. Thank God. Where are you?" "I've been calling for the last hour." Her voice was breathless, excited in a way that made my pulse quicken. "I'm at a family thing." "What's wrong?" "Wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right." "Rachel, you need to sit down." I found a bench overlooking the 18th hole, the distant sound of golf carts humming in the background. I'm sitting. "What's going on?" Forbes called. "The official list goes live Monday, but they wanted to give you a heads up. You're on the 30 under 30 list. Not just on it, you're the cover story, the feature profile. They're calling you the architect of invisible infrastructure." The world tilted. I gripped the edge of the bench, the wood solid under my fingers. "What?" "The journalist has been working on this for months. They interviewed your investors, your clients, your team, Intel, Amazon, Tesla. They all gave quotes about how your platform revolutionized their supply chains. Rachel, they're comparing you to early Bezos." I couldn't speak. 3 years of 70-hour weeks, of being told I was wasting my potential, of watching my family celebrate Daniel's every promotion while dismissing my work as playing with computers, it all condensed into this moment. "There's more," Sarah continued. Forbes wants to do the photo shoot tomorrow. They're sending a team to your office. And Rachel, they want to do part of it at a family gathering if possible. Something about showing the person behind the success. I told them you were at a family reunion today. No, I said quickly, not here. Okay. But Rachel, they specifically mentioned that your story of building this without family support makes it even more powerful. The journalist found out about your background, how you were excluded, how you built this anyway. They want to capture that resilience. I stood pacing now, the click of my heels on the stone terrace grounding me. Through the French doors, I could see my family still at their table. Mom was gesturing animatedly, probably explaining away what I'd said about investors. Daniel was scrolling through his phone, likely looking me up, trying to figure out if I was bluffing. When does it go live? I asked. Monday morning. But Rachel, there's one more thing. They want to do a surprise announcement. They have someone from Forbes who can come to your location today if you want. Make it a moment. Your call. I stopped pacing. Through the glass, I watched Aunt Linda join my parents' table, her face animated with gossip. Uncle Robert had his phone out, showing something to Daniel. They were all so confident in their version of success, so sure that Daniel's traditional path was the only one that mattered. How long would it take them to get here? I heard myself asking. They have someone in Stamford covering another story. 20 minutes tops. I thought about all the family dinners where my empty chair went unnoticed. All the reunion photos I'd been cropped from. All the times Mom had introduced Daniel as our successful one, while I stood right there. Send them, I said. South Lounge entrance. I'll meet them there. Rachel, are you sure this is your moment? You don't have to share it with people who... I'm not sharing it with them, I interrupted. I'm taking it for myself. After hanging up, I stood on the terrace for a long moment, letting the October air cool my flushed cheeks, the crane-folded napkin in my pocket pressed against my ribs as I breathed. A reminder that kindness existed even when family forgot how to show it. I walked back inside, my steps measured, purposeful. The ballroom buzzed with the same energy, but something had shifted. Or maybe I had. At the family table, Daniel looked up as I approached. His phone was indeed out, and I caught a glimpse of my company's website on his screen. Is this real? He demanded, not bothering with pretense. As real as your partnership, I replied evenly. Mom's face had gone pale. Why didn't you tell us we could have what I asked, genuinely curious. Included me, acknowledged me, stopped calling my work a hobby. That's not fair. Dad finally spoke, his voice gruff. We always supported you. You tolerated me, I corrected. There's a difference. Victoria cleared her throat. So what, you're worth millions now? Her voice tried for casual, but landed on calculating. The company's valued at $200 million as of our last round, I said simply. My stake is worth considerably more than millions. The silence that followed was deafening. Around us, the reunion continued, oblivious to the earthquake happening at table 1. Mom reached for her pearls, her default gesture when processing difficult information. We should celebrate, she said, her voice artificially bright. This is wonderful news. We should tell everyone. No, I cut her off. You don't get to claim this. Not after everything. Daniel's jaw tightened. Come on, Rach. We're family. We've always been proud of you. Name one time, I challenged. One single time you celebrated something I did. He opened his mouth, then closed it. The truth hung between us like a blade. My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah, ETA 10 minutes. They're excited. I looked around the ballroom, at the relatives who'd written me off, at the cousins, who'd whispered about my choices at the aunts and uncles, who'd pitied my parents for having one successful child and one dreamer. "I need some air," I said, turning away. "Rachel, wait," Mom called after me, but I was already walking my heels, clicking against marble, my blazer straight across my shoulders. Behind me, I heard the urgent whispers starting saw phones coming out as they frantically Googled my company, trying to understand what they'd missed. They'd missed everything, and in 10 minutes, they'd understand exactly how much. I stood in the South Lounge, watching through the floor-to-ceiling windows as a black town car pulled up to the entrance. My reflection stared back at me from the glass-composed, professional nothing, like the excluded daughter my family thought they knew. 2 people emerged from the car, a woman in her 50s with silver hair pulled back in an elegant twist, and a younger man carrying a professional camera. They moved with the purposeful stride of people who belonged everywhere they went. I met them at the entrance. "Rachel Chen." The woman extended her hand. "I'm Patricia Westbrook, senior editor at Forbes. This is Marcus, our photographer. I have to say, I've been dying to meet you. Your story is extraordinary. Thank you for coming on such short notice," I said, shaking her hand. "Are you kidding?" When Sarah called and said you were at a family reunion that you weren't even invited to. This is the kind of narrative authenticity we dream about. She studied my face. "Are you sure you want to do this here?" I thought about the empty chair at the family table, about Daniel's speech that erased my existence, about 29 years of being the footnote in my own family's story. "I'm sure," Patricia smiled. "Then let's make some noise." We walked back through the country club, Marcus discreetly taking candid shots as we moved. The ballroom doors loomed ahead, the sound of conversation and laughter drifting out. I paused, hand on the door. "You know," Patricia said quietly, "I've interviewed hundreds of successful people. Most of them got there because of their families. You got there despite yours. That takes a different kind of strength." I pushed open the doors. The room hadn't changed. The same clusters of relatives, the same soft jazz playing in the background, the same careful social choreography of a family that valued appearance above all else. But something was different. There was an undercurrent of tension phones, out-hushed conversations. They'd been Googling. Patricia touched my elbow. "How do you want to do this?" "Microphone," I said. "Let's do it right." We made our way to the podium, where Daniel had stood an hour ago. Uncle Robert, who was nearby, saw us coming and frowned. "Rachel, who are these people? This is a private event." "They're with me," I said, simply stepping up to the microphone. The conversations gradually died as people noticed someone new at the podium. I saw Mom half rise from her chair, confusion, and something like panic crossing her face. Daniel had his phone clutched in his hand, Victoria whispering urgently in his ear. I tapped the microphone once. The sound echoed through the ballroom. "Good afternoon," I began, my voice steady. "I'm Rachel Chen. Some of you might remember me as the quiet one, the one who spent too much time with computers, the one who never quite fit the family mold." Uncomfortable shifting, throat clearing. Mom's hand was at her pearls again. "I wasn't actually invited today," I continued. "In fact, I was specifically not invited. There's a screenshot in our family group chat to prove it." Gasps rippled through the room. Daniel's face went red. "But I came anyway, because I wanted to see my family. To maybe find a place at a table that never seemed to have room for me." I paused, letting the words settle. What I found instead was the same story I've heard my whole life, that there's only one kind of success that matters, that quiet achievements don't count, that if you're not loud about your wins, they don't exist. Patricia stepped forward, moving to stand beside me at the podium. The Forbes logo on her leather portfolio caught the light. "My name is Patricia Westbrook," she said into the microphone, her voice commanding instant attention. "I'm a senior editor at Forbes magazine, and I'm here to tell you that you've been living next to extraordinary and never noticed." The room went absolutely still. I saw Aunt Linda's mouth fall open. Uncle Robert slowly lowered himself into a chair. Rachel Chen Patricia continued, "Built a technology platform that has revolutionized supply chain management for some of the world's largest companies. She did it without fanfare, without family support, without anyone believing in her except herself. Her company is valued at $200 million. She employs 53 people. She holds 12 patents. And on Monday, she will be on the cover of Forbes as our featured 30 under 30 honoree." The silence was deafening. Marcus had raised his camera, capturing the frozen tableau of my family's shock. "But those are just numbers," Patricia said, warming to her theme. "What's remarkable about Rachel is that she built this while being systematically excluded and dismissed by the very people who should have been her biggest champions. She succeeded, not because of her family, but in spite of them. That's the story America needs to hear." I saw Mom sink back into her chair. Dad's face had gone gray. Daniel looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. Rachel Patricia turned to me. "Would you like to say anything else?" I looked out at the room, at the faces I'd known my whole life. Cousins who'd pitied me, aunts who'd whispered about my poor choices, uncles who'd asked when I was going to get a real job. "Success," I said, slowly, "isn't always loud. It doesn't always wear a suit or work in a glass tower. Sometimes it's built in a one-bedroom apartment at 3 a.m., fueled by instant ramen and determination. Sometimes it's quiet and patient and overlooked until the moment it's not." My eyes found my parents' table. "I didn't build my company to prove you wrong. I built it because I had something to contribute to the world. But I'd be lying if I said your doubt didn't fuel me. Every dismissal, every concerned comment about my life choices, every family photo I was cropped out of, they all became reminders that I had to create my own definition of success." I reached into my pocket and pulled out the crane-folded napkin, holding it up. "A stranger at a coffee shop made this for me this morning. A small act of kindness that meant more than anything my family has done for me in years. That's the kind of connection I've learned to value, the kind that sees you for who you are, not who they think you should be." I set the crane on the podium. "I'm done trying to earn a seat at tables that don't want me. I've built my own table, and it's big enough for anyone who wants to sit there." I stepped back from the microphone. Patricia nodded to Marcus, who moved forward, camera ready. "We'd like to get some photos," Patricia announced. "Rachel, would you mind?" As Marcus directed me to stand by the windows, the afternoon light golden behind me, I saw my family in my peripheral vision. Mom had stood up, taking a tentative step forward. Daniel's mouth was moving, but no sound came out. Victoria was furiously typing on her phone, probably Googling my net worth. The camera clicked. Once, twice. The sound seemed to break the spell. Rachel Mom's voice, high and desperate. "Sweetheart, we need to talk." "Actually," Patricia interjected smoothly, "we need to steal Rachel for a bit. We have some more shots to get. But thank you all for providing such an authentic backdrop for this story." As we walked toward the exit, the room erupted behind us. Voices raised chairs, scraping the sound of a family recalibrating their entire worldview in real time. Daniel caught up to us at the door, his face flushed. "Rachel, wait. This is I mean, congratulations, but what, Daniel? I turned to face him fully. But you wish I'd told you when I was struggling. But you wish you'd had a chance to take credit. But you wish you'd been nicer to the sister who turned out to be worth knowing. He flinched. Behind him, I could see our parents pushing through the crowd. Mom's perfectly styled hair starting to come undone. I don't need your congratulations, I said quietly. I needed your respect. And when I didn't get it, I learned to respect myself. That's worth more than any Forbes cover. Patricia touched my arm. The car's waiting. I took one last look at the ballroom, at the family that had made me feel invisible for so long. They all saw me now, every single one of them. But I realized, standing there in the doorway, that their vision didn't matter anymore. I saw myself, and that was enough. Let's go, I said to Patricia. I have a company to run. We walked out into the October sunshine, leaving the Chen family reunion behind. As the town car pulled away, I didn't look back. There was too much ahead of me to waste time on what was behind. The hotel room was quiet, except for the hum of my laptop and the occasional ping of notifications I'd learned to ignore. It had been 3 days since the reunion. 3 days since Forbes went live with the story. My phone had become a lightning rod for messages I wasn't ready to read. I sat cross-legged on the bedcode, flowing across my screen, as I reviewed the latest update to our platform. Work had always been my sanctuary, but even here, the ghosts of Sunday afternoon kept creeping in. A knock at the door interrupted my focus. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw Sarah, my publicist, holding 2 cups of coffee and looking concerned. I know you said you needed space, she said when I opened the door, but you haven't answered anyone's calls, and I figured you could use caffeine that doesn't come from a hotel machine. I let her in, grateful for the normalcy of her presence. Your inbox is insane, she said, settling into the chair by the window. Interview requests from every major outlet. The Today Show wants you for Tuesday. But that's not why I'm here. My family, I guessed. Your mom has called the Forbes office 17 times. Your brother tried to get your address from our receptionist. And someone claiming to be your aunt offered my assistant $1,000 for your hotel information. I laughed, but it came out hollow. Sounds about right. Sarah studied me. You know most people would be thrilled. Family wanting to reconnect after a big success. They don't want to reconnect, I interrupted. They want to rewrite history. Make it seem like they were supportive all along. Daniel's probably already updating his LinkedIn to mention his CEO sister. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Against my better judgment, I glanced at it. A text from an unknown number, but I recognized the writing style immediately. This is Victoria, Daniel's fiancée. I think we got off on the wrong foot. Would love to grab lunch and hear about your journey. Girl bosses should support each other. I showed Sarah the message. She snorted. Girl bosses. She literally smirked at you 3 days ago. The Forbes effect, I said, deleting the message. Suddenly, everyone wants to be part of the story they tried to erase. Sarah pulled out her tablet. Speaking of the story, the response has been incredible. The article has over 1 million views. You're trending on LinkedIn. And Rachel, the comments. People are sharing their own stories of family rejection and finding success anyway. You've touched a nerve. I moved to the window, looking out at the Hartford skyline. Somewhere in this city, my family was probably having emergency meetings about how to handle their newly successful disappointment. There's one more thing, Sarah said carefully. A handwritten letter was delivered to the office. From your mother. I didn't open it, but she pulled an envelope from her bag. Mom's careful script spelled out my name, the same handwriting that had signed permission slips and birthday cards, back when I still got birthday cards. I held the envelope without opening it. "Did you know," I said quietly, "that she made Daniel a cake for every promotion, every single one, from analyst to associate, to VP to partner. 4 cakes. She documented each one on Facebook with these long posts about her brilliant son." "And you?" Sarah asked gently. When I closed my Series A, I told her at dinner. She said, "That's nice, dear," and asked Daniel about his quarterly review. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. I set it on the desk, unopened. "You don't have to read it," Sarah said. "I know." I returned to my laptop, fingers finding the keys automatically. "Can you do me a favor? Set up a conference call with the team for this afternoon. I want to talk about the expansion plans for Q1. Sarah smiled. "Already done. They're excited to celebrate with you." "My real family," I murmured. My phone rang. Dad's face appeared on the screen. A photo from 5 Christmases ago, the last one where I'd felt welcome. I let it go to voicemail. "He's called every day," I admitted. "Sometimes twice. Never left a message, though. It's like he's waiting for me to be the one to break first, to make this easy for them." What would make it easy? I thought about it. Pretending this changes everything. Letting them take credit. Showing up to family dinners so they can parade me around, now that I'm worth knowing. Going back to being the supporting character in the Daniel show, just with a Forbes mention. "And what do you want?" The code on my screen blurred as tears I hadn't expected gathered in my eyes. "I want them to see who I've always been. Not the Forbes version, not the CEO version, just me, the daughter who built beautiful things in silence while they looked the other way." Sarah moved to sit beside me on the bed. "You know that might never happen, right?" "I know." I wiped my eyes with the hotel tissue. "That's why I'm staying here instead of my apartment. I need space to figure out what comes next, without them showing up at my door." "The reunion photos are all over social media," Sarah said, pulling up her phone. "Your Aunt Linda posted a picture of the family table with you, cropped out, captioned, 'So proud of our family.' Posted 2 hours before the Forbes announcement." I looked at the photo. There they were, raising glasses in a toast, the space where I should have been carefully edited out. The same magic they'd been performing for years. "The comments are brutal," Sarah continued. "People are calling them out, posting the Forbes cover in response. Your cousin Mei Lin tried to defend them and got absolutely roasted." "Don't read me the comments," I said. "I don't want to turn their humiliation into my entertainment." That's something they would do. My laptop dinged with a video call request. My team's faces appeared on screen, diverse, brilliant, loyal people who'd believed in the vision when it was just wireframes and wishful thinking. "There she is," my CTO, Marcus grinned. "Our celebrity CEO. How's world domination feeling?" "Like code review and coffee," I said, smiling for the first time in days, ready to talk about the Azure integration. As we dove into technical discussions, Sarah quietly gathered her things. She left the letter on the desk unopened, but waiting like all the conversations I wasn't ready to have. 3 hours later, after the call ended and room service delivered a sad desk salad, I finally picked up the envelope. Inside Mom's letter was exactly what I'd expected. "My dear Rachel, I'm so proud of you. I always knew you were special. Perhaps I didn't show it the right way, but a mother knows her children. Please come home so we can celebrate properly. The family wants to throw you a party. Daniel is so excited to have his successful sister back. Love, Mom." I read it twice, looking for something real, something that acknowledged the years of invisibility. But it was just another performance, another carefully crafted narrative, where she'd always been the supportive mother. I folded the letter, placed it back in the envelope, and dropped it in the trash. Then I pulled out my phone and typed a message to my team. Thanks for the call today. You're the family I chose, and I'm grateful every day that you chose me back. Pizza tomorrow to celebrate my treat. The responses came immediately. Heart emojis cheers Marcus, offering to bring his homemade cookies. This was what unconditional support looked like. Not blood, trying to claim credit for success they'd tried to prevent, but chosen family celebrating because they'd been there for the struggle. My phone rang again. Mom. Again. This time I answered. Rachel. Oh, thank goodness. We've been so worried. I'm fine, Mom. The Forbes thing, sweetie. It's wonderful. Why didn't you tell us? You could have what I interrupted, my voice steady. Been supportive, included me. Not told me I was wasting my life. Silence. Then quieter. That's not fair. You're right, I said. It's not fair. It wasn't fair when you excluded me from family photos. It wasn't fair when you forgot my birthdays, but threw parties for Daniel's promotions. It wasn't fair when you told people I was finding myself while I was building a company. None of it was fair. We want to make it right, she said, and for a moment she almost sounded sincere. You can't, I said simply. You can't retroactively insert yourself into a journey you chose to ignore. You can't claim a victory you tried to prevent. And you can't make me grateful for attention that only comes with a Forbes headline. So what, you're just going to cut us off, punish us forever? I looked out at the city lights, thinking of all the nights I'd worked alone, driven by something between spite and hope. I'm not punishing you, I said finally. I'm just living my life. The same life I've been living while you pretended I didn't exist. The only difference is now you want to watch. Rachel, I have to go, Mom. I have a company to run. I hung up before she could respond, then turned my phone to silent. The crane napkin from the coffee shop sat on my nightstand, its delicate folds catching the lamplight. A stranger's kindness still worth more than family's conditional love. Tomorrow, I'd leave the hotel, go back to my apartment, face whatever came next. But tonight, I sat with my laptop and my code, and my chosen family's messages, building something beautiful in the silence, just like always. Only now the silence was my choice. The new office smelled like fresh paint and possibility. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked San Francisco Bay, a far cry from the cramped WeWork space where it all began. I stood in the conference room, watching my team set up for our all-hands, meeting their excitement infectious. Rachel, the NASDAQ people are here, Marcus called out, holding up a box with a grin, ready to ring the opening bell next week. I nodded, the surreal nature of it all still settling in. 6 months since Forbes. 6 months since the reunion. 6 months of astronomical growth that even I hadn't seen coming. My phone sat silent on the desk. I'd finally stopped checking for messages. From home, stopped waiting for an apology that would mean something. The silence had transformed from punishment to peace. Hey, Boss Lily, our newest engineer poked her head in. There's someone in the lobby asking for you. Says she's your sister. I froze. I didn't have a sister. Tell them I'm in a meeting. I started, then stopped. Actually, I'll go. The elevator ride felt longer than usual. When the doors opened, I saw her immediately. Madison. Not Mom, or Dad, or Daniel, but Madison, Daniel's younger sister, from his father's first marriage. The one who'd been away at art school during the reunion. The one I'd taught to code when she was 12. She looked older, Her purple-streaked hair, now professional brown, her art student aesthetic replaced with startup casual. When she saw me, her face crumpled. "I'm sorry," she said before I could speak. "I'm so fucking sorry, Rachel." I stood there, processing. Madison had always been different, trapped between families, never quite fitting either narrative. "I saw the Forbes article in Paris," she continued. "I couldn't believe." "No, that's a lie." "I could totally believe it. The way they treated you. The way I let them treat you." "You were a kid," I said carefully. "I was 22 at the reunion. Old enough to stand up for you. Old enough to tell them they were wrong." She pulled out her phone, showing me a text thread. "I told them I was coming to see you. Mom forbid it. Said I was betraying the family. And I told her the family betrayed you first." We stood in the lobby of my building. Two women, separated by years of family dysfunction, connected by something harder to define. "I quit Goldman," she said suddenly. "Seeing your story, what you built, while they ignored you, it made me realize I was living Daniel's dream, not mine. I'm starting my own design firm." "That's brave," I said, meaning it. "That's what Mom called it. Except she used different words." Madison laughed, but it was brittle. "Apparently, there's only room for one family disappointment. Trust me, the position's been filled." "No," she said firmly. "You're not the disappointment. You never were. You're the only one who actually made something real." I studied her, this almost sister, who'd orbited our family's dysfunction without being fully consumed by it. "Why did you really come, Madison?" She pulled out an envelope. Not Mom's stationery this time, but something official looking. "Daniel's getting married next month. Big society wedding. The works." She handed me the invitation. "They didn't send you one, but I'm in the wedding party and I get a +1. I looked at the invitation. Embossed letters, gold foil. The kind of thing Mom had dreamed about since Daniel was born. My name was nowhere on it. "You want me to be your +1 to the brother who erased me from his life. I want you to come as my family," she said. "My real family. The one who taught me that building something meaningful matters more than fitting in." I thought about it. The old me would have thrown the invitation away. The Forbes me might have shown up to prove a point. But the current me, the one who'd found peace in the silence, felt something different. Curiosity, maybe. Or closure. "I'll think about it," I said. Madison smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from a Chen in years. "That's all I ask. And Rachel, whether you come or not, I want you to know something. Every time they brag about Daniel, now someone brings up you. Every single time. It drives them crazy." "I don't need them to be driven crazy," I said. "I need them to be accountable. Same thing in their world." We hugged awkwardly in the lobby, two casualties of the same family war, finding something like peace in the aftermath. A week later, I made my decision. Not for them, not even for Madison, but for me. The girl who'd been cropped out of photos deserved to stand in the frame, even if she chose to walk out of it afterward. The wedding was everything Mom had dreamed of. St. Patrick's Cathedral reception at the plaza. A string quartet playing as guests arrived in their designer gowns and bespoke suits. I wore a simple black dress, in the confidence of someone who'd built an empire while they planned centerpieces. Madison met me at the entrance, radiant in her bridesmaid dress. "You came. I came." The ceremony was beautiful, in that orchestrated way expensive weddings always are. I sat with Madison's +1s, content to observe from the periphery. Daniel looked happy, successful, every inch the golden sun. His bride glowed with the satisfaction of marrying into the right kind of family. Then came the reception, the moment of truth. I was at the bar when Mom found me. She looked older, her perfect composure cracked around the edges. Rachel, Mom, you look. She paused, searching for words that didn't revolve around my net worth. Well, success suits me, I said evenly. Though you wouldn't know, since you've never seen me wear it. She flinched. I've made mistakes. We all have. The difference is, I own mine. Daniel appeared at her elbow, his smile camera-ready, until he saw me. Something flickered across his face. Shame, maybe, or just discomfort, at the reminder of his edited history. Hey, Rach. Daniel, congratulations. Thanks for coming. We didn't think that I'd show up where I wasn't invited. I've been doing that my whole life. The awkwardness stretched between us until Madison appeared, linking her arm through mine. Come on, our table's over here. As we walked away, I heard Mom whisper urgently to Daniel. I caught fragments, photos. Forbes. Have to include, at dinner, the speeches began. The best man told stories of Daniel's college days. The maid of honor gushed about true love. Then, Uncle Robert took the microphone, launching into a toast about family legacy, about success, passing through generations. The Chen family has always valued achievement, he boomed. From our ancestors, who built businesses from nothing, to Daniel here, carrying on the tradition. Madison grabbed my hand under the table as he went on erasing my existence with every word. The familiar anger rose, but this time it came with clarity. I stood up. The room turned. Uncle Robert faltered mid-sentence. I walked to the microphone, my heels clicking against the marble. Uncle Robert stepped aside, confused, but too polite to stop me. I wanted to toast my brother, I said, my voice carrying across the ballroom. To Daniel, who taught me the most valuable lesson of my life, that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up when you're building something from nothing, who celebrates your wins without needing to take credit, who sees you when you're invisible to everyone else. I raised my champagne glass. So here's to Daniel for teaching me to find my real family. They're not in this room, but they're watching the live stream from our office, where we're about to close our Series C. Gasps rippled through the room. Phones appeared as people Googled frantically. 50 million, someone whispered. The valuation is... I set down the microphone and walked back to my seat. The room erupted in whispers, but I was done performing for them. Madison leaned over. That was beautiful. That was goodbye, I corrected. I stayed through the cake. Cutting watched the first dance, then quietly gathered my things. Madison walked me out. Will I see you again, she asked. You have my number. The real one, not the one that goes to my assistant. She hugged me. I'm proud to know you, even if they never figure out how to be. In the cab back to the airport, I pulled out my phone. 17 messages from my team, all variations of "Did you really just announce Series C at your brother's wedding?" I smiled, typing back on my way home. Save me some champagne. Home. Not the house where I grew up, not the family that raised me, but the place I'd built with people who saw me before Forbes told them to. The plane lifted off New York, shrinking below, and I felt the last chains of needing their approval break away. They'd have their photos from tonight, and I'd probably be cropped out of those too. But it didn't matter anymore. I had built something they couldn't edit, couldn't erase, couldn't claim. I had built myself, and that was enough. What would you do if your family only saw your worth after the world validated it? Have you ever had to choose between family approval and personal success? Drop a comment below. I read every one, and your stories of resilience inspire me daily.